Hello there, and welcome to episode 76 here at Cuzzo-Op. I'm one of the hosts here, Willie, aka Aaron. As usual, we have the other host here of Cuzzo-Op.
It's IV. What's up with y'all? How we living?
Oh, I kind of want to restart my whole shit now because
It's all good. You dead. You already dead.
I'm already dead. I mean, we gonna get to why I'm already dead later, so.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 76. We here to obviously talk about A Quiet Place, and not just the first one, not just the second one, but the newest one that dropped earlier this year. I mean, what, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, 3 weeks ago?
Maybe, almost like a month.
Right. So we were like, we normally like to do a little bit of a recap. If we're about to talk about a film and a franchise, we usually hit an episode going over it and then dedicate an episode later on. But our schedule for one, packed.
We got things going on. We
were like, okay, maybe we could do that at a later time. But then we realized we had something we wanted to do, and we were like, we could actually fit A Quiet Place in there. But, you're going to hear our thoughts as we continue. We just decided they could all be in one episode.
Yeah, we're going to go through it. We're going to go through it all. We do know that Krasinski only directed the first two. We're aware of these things. Just know that we know that. And yet we still want to say something. We still got something to say. You know what I mean?
We got things to talk about. So, how this is going to go, it is just Quiet Place 1. We're going to talk about it. Quiet Place 2. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then day 1, we're going to talk about it. So, A Quiet Place is just a franchise that booted up. What year was it? 2018?
18, yeah.
John Krasinski saw a screenplay. He was like, I kind of like that. Let me get involved, and got involved in the process, directed it, started it. And he took it over, and now it's becoming this big thing. It's becoming, third movie just dropped. The fourth movie might be coming out soon with Krasinski at the helm once again. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that it all started from this small project, in Hollywood, just being something new and fresh. So,
yeah, I agree. Especially when it comes to that horror, apocalyptic, we've gotten a lot of apocalyptic takes in the last 10 years, but this is one of those ones that stood out when it came out. When that first one dropped, everyone was talking about this movie. And I remember seeing it and knowing it was special, not just because Jim made it, but also because, Jim made it. That's dope. It's cool. It's awesome when you see an actor that's known for his role as an actor, and whether it's TV or film, or she's known for her film, TV and film, and then they can direct. That's dope. You know what I mean? And so I also had a little bit of bias in this series because they filmed some things in the state of New York. As you know, we here at Cuzzo-Op are New Yorkers, you feel me? So biased.
I mean, what's interesting is I didn't realize that this was filmed in New York until more recently. So that biased, I didn't even have that mess. You believe that, bro?
Yeah, it felt like the train track second movie with the going through. It felt like.
Well, I only watched the second one recently. I've only ever seen the first one back in 2018, and then watched it again a few times over the years. And so recently, with day 1 dropping, I said, I never did catch that second one, and I watched it. And the person I watched it with was like, this is because they live in Buffalo, so they're like, this was this was dead ass like. Yeah. So I was like, oh, word, and then I see that, that's a staple here. So let's get into 2018's A Quiet Place, bro.
Yeah, let's get it.
I really love this movie. Like 8 out of 10, I got it at. I super enjoy this. I think it's a great time. One of the craziest, I would say, or most daring, or whatever you might say. I'm not trying to hype it up because it's not necessarily hyped, but it's a interesting opener, I'll call it.
Yeah.
That immediately sets the tone for the film, and I mean, that's me trying to keep it vague, but I feel like if you're listening to this, you should have seen the movie. So, I mean, the opening scene with Bo, I believe his name is, getting slashed up. It's a great introduction into this world of, like, First off, this opening scene is here's what this story is about.
Yeah.
At its core, yeah, we're a horror movie, a monster movie, but at the core, we are a family film.
Right.
And so we see, you know, the circumstances, the world, all the bags of chips are still on the counter. You know, Evelyn, played by Emily Blunt, is a doctor looking for her pills because, you know, they need pills. Dudes is sick. I believe her son at the time, his name is Marcus. I believe he is sick.
Yeah.
John Krasinski and his daughter, you know, his daughter's deaf. And I want to say that the actress who plays, I forgot her name in the movie, Reagan.
Yeah, I think her name is Reagan.
She's deaf. Millicent Simmons.
Yeah.
She did great. And excellent. I love that the cast took time to learn sign language to communicate with her on set. And so this family, they go through something tragic. You know, the little kid, he's like, I got my toy. And then he dies because, you know, the monsters, the way they work is when they hear you, they come after you. When they hear the noise, they come at you as fast as they can. And it's kind of crazy. And so we jump to the future and we see essentially the fallout of this event a year later at this point too, you know, just a quiet family, you know, a daughter who believes her dad doesn't love her because of a mistake she made, a dad whose sole focus is keeping his family alive, that he kind of forgets to participate within the family itself. Mom's pregnant. We could talk about that decision. And just a son who's, I mean, rightfully scared in this world. So, I mean, it throws us into this and we get to explore these family dynamics. And what's interesting about it is we need to be smart and piece these dynamics ourselves based on imagery, because dialogue in this movie, almost non-existent.
Yeah. I think that's the best part of this whole entire film. I thought that was what made it stand out the whole time. You know, it makes it so that them doing sign language, you know, Reagan's actress being deaf, it hits. It all hits because it plays into the believability of the world. And, you know, back to what you said about that scene with Bo, I have no doubt that when they were getting the funding for this film, they pressed play on that scene. They showed that scene to the sponsors. And the sponsors said, yeah, oh, yeah, I'm throwing a bag at that. That's going to go crazy. You know, and I think that if that wasn't the first scene storyboarded for this whole concept, I would be very much surprised. I thought that that was a great way to start, great way to bring us close, great way to bring us in. And they hold us very close in that space with the quietness of the movie from that point forward. That's one thing about this movie that's beautiful. The tone and the pace of the movie for a 2018 film, especially, you know what I mean? We somewhere between about to lose all of our ability to watch long movies because we all have TikTok brain rot, and a good long movie makes sense. This was a good 1 hour and 30-minute movie filled to the brimsky with good stuff, bro. Right. Exactly. It was good stuff, you know?
Yeah. It was also makes sense that with the family being at the core of this movie, that John Krasinski would take this role on, because it is after the birth of his child, I believe, with Emily Blunt. And so he felt connected to this movie, right? And so there's a reason why I keep mentioning this aspect that I'm going to get into later on. But, you know, we follow these characters in the film. And for dialogue, it's strange when they do decide to speak. The first time you hear Krasinski's voice, it's almost weird. Yeah. Emily Blunt, I believe, doesn't speak until about an hour into the movie. You know, and you're thinking, yo, that's Emily Blunt. How are you going to cast Emily Blunt and not have her talk? Because she could do it without the dialogue. Yeah. And even besides that, it's his wife. Right. And so this was special to him. Keep that in mind. This was for Krasinski. So
I like that. I like to see I like to see Krasinski write a role for his wife. You know what I mean? We could talk about scenes, you know, however you want to speak about it. But part of the reason why I got this particular screen as my background at the moment is because this scene right here, where she gave birth to the baby in the bathtub, is crazy. When he wrote that, whoever wrote that scene, this woman was acting her behind off in this scene. She was going crazy. Newsflash, she wasn't actually delivering the baby. Don't know if y'all know. But I was in that joint like, damn, this is crazy. She can't make no noise. You know how much yelling and screaming go down in that process, bro? She in that, I'm like, yo, I'm feeling every moment of this. And that's what's cool about this movie. You know, we could talk about visuals and all the other pillars, but really what we need to focus on here is the sound in this film. The sound in this film, they tweaked the sound the way it needed to be. You're right. When my boy, you know, John Krasinski's character speaks for the first time, the impact that the human voice has without being used, you know, and the croakiness to his voice as a result, you feel it all. It feels so real. And I think that's why this movie was so special. It's like it had so many parts of the dynamic of having these monsters that hunt you by hearing you. They really did a good job at threading that into every aspect of the family dynamic, the way they operate, the sand, all of that. That was so cool.
Right. I mean, while you with the sound and imagery, I want to talk about imagery, right? Because I mean, the imagery is what gets you into the character's headspace for each one. You know, when they clearly recap this family is still grieving with Reagan at the grave, or Evelyn upstairs in her son's room crying. You know, and John's just focused, his whiteboard that people like to make fun of. Why would he write what is their weakness on the whiteboard? I mean, is it corny? Yes, but I'm willing to accept that because of the stylization of the film. I like that. And then even back to the noise, every noise gives you anxiety.
Oh yeah.
When they knock the glass over because it's super quiet, that feels so much louder, right? But I mean, I'm down to go into scenes, right? Because I mean, I can praise the sound and imagery of this film all day. It's a beautiful movie too. Just shot selection, him up on the damn tower, burning the fire, and just letting that play out, and seeing all the other survivors scattered around. It was beautiful. But the scene with Marcus and Lee under the waterfall, where they get to talk about, do you still love her, Dad? Of course I do. You need to tell her, you know? I think Lee knows that his daughter feels some type of way, right? But with everything going on, I don't think he has that heart in him to talk about it yet, to say anything about it. Because, I mean, it's hard. It is hard. It's grief, and I'm sure it's harder to grieve in a world where, you know, you can't go get away from this for a bit, you know?
Yeah.
This is all that is. So, and I mean, I'm not even a dad, right? So, I mean, for you, I know obviously your child isn't a teenager yet.
Sure.
But what is this film like for you as a dad, viewing the state of this family, or even as a son?
Yeah, no, I think I haven't watched it since I became a dad, but I think there's a compartmentalizing that character would have had to do in order to continue moving forward and not let that grief kill him and kill his family. You know what I mean? So I think this happens whether there's an apocalypse with, you know, aliens that kill you if they hear you or not. You know, some people just don't know how to process life, process things that happen without feeling like if they do that, they'll become weak. And that can lead to other people perceiving it as, you know, an absence of love or an absence of appreciation toward them. And I think they just played into that very well. She's a teenager in an apocalypse. It's just a simple concept. Is my dad still proud of me? Does my dad love me? Does he blame me for this? I just think that they paint that dynamic well. The son speaking to his dad was great, but the son also doesn't understand the intricacies of how his dad may feel as well. I also felt like there was some simplicity to that too in the writing, that, you know, maybe it could have been a little bit more complex, some of what was kind of the tension in the family. But at the same time, that's part of what was great about this movie. It's so simple what's going on between them, because everything outside of them externally, all of the obstacles they have to go through, this apocalypse they're going through, it's a lot. And if they try to put too many intricacies in the family, then it kind of steals the show from like this world that we're in. And I think that they balanced that very well in this movie. And I don't know if they balanced that very well in the second movie. I don't know if it's as well balanced. And I definitely know they did not balance that shit well in the most recent. So, you know, that's why I thought it was going.
Right. My last line in my Letterboxd review, shout out to Letterboxd,
Yeah.
follow me on there. I think it's a nice throw on and enjoy film with an interesting premise, simple yet effective.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like this movie is. And so, I mean, to wrap this movie all up, straight up, it was the family story that concludes with Lee getting it off his chest. I do love you, he gets his time with his wife. I need to go save the kids. He gets his time with his son, and now he gets to tell her, like, I do love you, and that heals her, and then he dies.
Yeah.
Self-sacrificial. Now, did it need to go down that way? I don't know, but I mean, he did a sacrifice, and it was the closure of his character. I mean, it's
I don't know. I think if they had the idea of where they wanted to take the second movie, and they felt like this was necessary for them to get there, then I guess okay.
They didn't, though. Like, I can tell you now, John thought this was going to be a one and done, and then when thinking of ideas, he said, damn, I'm going to have to do it. And so that's how the second one came to be, because he was very adamant about, that's it. And then one day he said, damn, that's not it. I have more.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who wish that was it. And I may be one of them sometimes. But,
I mean,
at the end of the day, his death, it meant something for those characters to progress forward from, a memory to live on for outside of the bow, but like a reason to keep living and to keep pushing and to keep fighting. It also gave Reagan a reason to rise up as the older sibling and take this mantle that her dad leaves. And I think in the second movie, that's one of the strongest plot points of the second movie. So I give it to you. But yeah, in terms of this movie, 8 out of 10. I'm gonna throw it on. If it's on, I'll probably watch it through. If it's like I'm flicking through the channels on YouTube TV and it's on, I'm like, oh, I might actually watch this.
Right.
But is it like I'm going out of my way to go watch it again? No, I'm not. Me personally.
Only time I've done it is if I was watching with others. I think
right. Unless like they haven't seen. Yeah, I feel that.
Right. This is kind of like I don't want to say a holy grail for me, but it's a nice little it's a nice little thing that I like to have in my mind. Like I like that movie. Like I do. I actually really enjoy this movie. I think there's a lot that could be done with this idea, which brings us to A Quiet Place 2, which came out in, I believe, 2020.
Yep, 2020.
And so, the gang's back, especially
the gang
John.
Is all here. Sorry.
With a quite stunning opening sequence, if I must say.
I agree. Hold up, wait, I'm ready. I'm keep going though. Keep talking. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's a stunning opening sequence that shows us the events of day one for the Abbott family, including Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy's here.
Yo, bro, as soon as I saw Cillian, and people forget that Cillian Murphy's in this movie. I saw a lot of tweets when he won his Oscar with Oppenheimer, like, yo, Cillian was in that? Yes, he was in that. And he was in there going. Masked up, going. I was like, yes, sir.
Right.
Woo.
So, opening sequence, John Krasinski, he's like, yo, let me show what happened on that first day. And it kind of enhances what we see from the first film. Yeah. We get to see how close him and his daughter was. We get to see just the town and how quickly and easy it almost is to understand the concept and the weaknesses, not the weaknesses, but what they need to do to survive. And the technicality work behind everything they did was genius. They did a lot of one shots to make you feel like you're in the world. Everything with Emily Blunt with the bus coming backwards, genius. Do you know how they did that or not?
Nah. Well, how did they do it?
They put her car on without wheels on like a trolley and then hooked it up so that someone was on top of her car with the actual driving.
That's tough.
So
crazy.
There's someone in that scene when she's in the car, she's mimicking doing it while someone's on her roof actually doing it. And that bus was real. That bus was really coming downhill, coming at them. So John was like, she didn't need to act. that bus was going at her.
That's
Straight
so
up.
tough, bro.
And she's like, I trust John as a filmmaker to not put me in a position like that. And the driver, you got me? And he said, yo, I'm the best. I'm the best at this. Don't worry. I got you. And it was a stunning sequence that, you know, we talk about one shots all the time, the Bear, Daredevil. But for the vehicle one shots, that's a level that I'm like,
Yes, technicalities is crazy.
you did that. And the ability to edit your film to fake the one shot.
Yeah.
There's a scene in that opening sequence where John gets out of his car. I don't know if you would remember. He gets out of the car to go talk to the cop.
Oh, yeah.
Those are two scenes. When he's in the car, that's one scene. And as he's getting out, it cuts to him getting out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go behind anything. It's just seamless the way they did it. So the whole opening sequence is glorious. It also paints pictures for later in the film. You know, when you watch enough movies, you begin to understand they're putting bits and pieces in that will come back later. So the conversation between Killian and Regan about what dive means, I'm clocking that. That's coming back.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna see that again, right?
And then we go to the fallout after Lee's death, and we see this family trying to survive, trying to make it to one of the other survivors that put the fire up in the. And I'm like, oh, that's smart. They would know where other people are. That makes sense because they do that every night. That's genius. Okay. And once again, I got to say, this movie does noise brilliantly.
Always.
You know, every time you hear a bottle creak, you begin to flip out. And so this movie does a lot of things similar to the first one that I really enjoy, but it also does a lot different. And I think it could be enjoyable, and I did enjoy it. But there are also some things. This action is something big in this movie. This movie is very action filled. If you thought the first one was boring, this one might please you more. Yeah,
absolute. And I think they had to do that based on what, you know, they only made this second movie. You know, maybe not just because Krasinski was inspired, but the money that the first one made, right? So I'm sure they were like screen testers, people in the boardroom making these decisions. How do we make more money? How do we become more successful? We need some action. And somebody was like, you ever seen Peaky Blinders? You know what I mean? And that's what it feels like. It feels just like an amplification of it. And so that's where when people have that conversation about, did we need a second movie? I can understand that conversation.
I can, absolutely.
But they also fleshed this out in a way where I'm entertained. It wasn't like I was waiting for the movie to end. Every moment from when they come up on Emmett's, when Emmett saves them in that from that trap and then shows them his little vault underground hideout. That concept of the soundproof safe. I thought that was all very smart. You know what I mean? These are all little concepts that fit the world more so and continue to flesh out these simple concepts. So it's like, if you're going to do it, then do it in a way that makes the first better. And I think that they did that with the sequel. That's one thing I can say for sure.
I can say that, absolutely.
And so even though Krasinski's not there, I mean, adding Cillian Murphy as a co-star
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll take it.
You know, I wrote on my review, I said, what makes this film interesting is that depending on what you liked or disliked from the first film, that this may feel better, worse, or more of the same, making for some interesting discussions. And so something that's the same for me is family being at the core of this movie. I think it is. I think we have the concept that some might find in their own family of single parent households. The idea that you as a child now need to step up. And we see that with Regan here. With the death of her father, we now see, okay, I need to step up here because and her mom is telling her no, and her brother is her. And he's like, nah. And even Killian's like, stop being stupid. You know, Killian's lost his family now, and he is going through that grief of, I don't even want to have this responsibility on.
Right.
And so I thought that was great, keeping that at its heart and soul of the film and just changing it to fit the circumstances. You know, and they go on their own. Killian and Regan go one place, and Evelyn does her own thing, and Marcus does his own thing. And This is where the movie, for me specifically, although I also have this at an 8 for different reasons. I like the first one more. This is where the movie gets a little bit of a iffy for me because it begins to split off into different plot lines that, while they all do match, it feels like it does too much at times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you.
Especially with characters like Marcus doing completely idiotic decisions that you just wouldn't really like. You feel like you're only doing that to move the plot along.
Right.
But I will say, you know, what helps the story and the writing at this point in time is the editing of the film. That is what I think helps this whole plot.
Yeah, it's
when
tied
they
together
start
in that
cutting. When they're all about to do something and it cuts between the three of them. On one hand, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I like that. But by the end of the movie, I'm like, you know what, I do, because it keeps the tension up and it shows that shit is going down.
Right.
So, you know, similar to the first movie, in some of the weaker aspects, the other aspects of the movie manage to, like, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Not to the point where it's not even like, oh, it's doing so much carrying, I'm going to talk crap. I'm like, nah, I can accept the carrying. But I'm going to say it's a little messy. I think it's a little bit more messier compared to the first one. But a very enjoyable film either way.
Yeah, it's messy because they try to get complex in terms of, like, it's not a simple storyline of we're retreating in this house. Oops, you made some noise. Oops, they're coming for us. Like, backup plan. Like, that was the first movie. That was it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to sacrifice myself. You guys live. I think that, you know, Krasinski in the first movie, he talks a lot about wanting that movie to be almost like an expose on parenthood. And yeah, I think you're right. I think this movie, it gets messy because it goes from this parenthood perspective to, like, family. But it also has some coming of age. It also has some, you know, and there's a horror at the same time, like a loose horror. And so how do you put a jump scare? How do you do a thrill? How do you still add that action? It's hard because they have to progress it so it's not the same exact movie. And that's where I think I gave them some slack for it. You know, in terms of what you said about Marcus, the reason why I gave Marcus's character a lot of slack is because I love Noah. Like, I think Noah, the actor, is an excellent actor. I've always loved him. You know, Honey Boy, Wonder, like, dude's a beast. Great films. But Noah's a G, you know, so I'm like, okay, I'm rocking with him. Regan, she's already on a quest to be what her dad is wanting her to be now. Now she's got to prove. Now she's got to make him proud. And I think the collab with Emmett is dope. It's a good collab. And then Emily Blunt, bro. It's just Emily Blunt. She's doing anything, I'm gonna watch it because she's got my respect. But yeah, so I think this whole notion of them not being able to, the aliens not being able to swim, that was a great point in this world. Okay, because the same wonder, pun intended, that they had when they realized that her little device, the hearing device, has that frequency to it. We aren't hopeless. That notion was ringing through the first film, and it's their solace at the end, right? This movie has that same concept. They use the water as, oh my gosh, there's a little bit of a solution to what it is we're dealing with. And so I do like how they did that. I like the island. I like how they added that concept of a safe haven. I thought that was
you know who was running the island, bro?
Yeah.
Digimon, bro. We love Digimon around here, man.
I think it's so tough because I just realized at the beginning of this conversation that he's in the day one.
Yeah.
Like, I just realized he's in both. I forgot that he was in the second. Like, I knew it in my head, but what's going to
happen in day one if you've seen this movie, because he tells you what happens.
Precisely. So this is when this universe is at its best, when it's playing into the world and concept well. But just because it's playing into the world and the concept well doesn't always mean that there isn't stuff that's, like, super troped. Like, I've seen this before. You know, like you said, with the whole dive, like, there's a lot of easy mode decisions they made,
and it's okay.
But it's all right.
Straight up,
it's all right.
Acceptable. I'm accepting these movies in, bro.
The world's unique enough that I'll take anything. You could do something I've seen before, but it being in this world, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
And it's
Easy.
well acted.
Oh,
I
absolutely,
can't
and
say
well
I have
made.
a complaint about anything. Yeah,
And well made, well
beautiful,
filmed,
beautiful.
well everything. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and so they end off the film kind of separated.
Yes, they do.
You got the daughter over here on the island with Digimon's dead ass body now, because God forbid Digimon have peace in his life.
Yeah, you always on some.
I think Evelyn is. I think, did she make it back? She made it back to her kids, and so now how do they get to the island?
Right.
We're hearing that people know this way of survival now. So, John Krasinski, I know he's working on A Quiet Place 3. I think right now it's tagged for maybe next year or the year after.
Yeah.
But I'm there. I believe Cillian Murphy's set to return for that one too. So
yeah,
now it's Oscar winner Cillian Murphy. So we gonna see what he's bringing to the table then. And I would love to see more of his character and dive deeper into him too.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows? Maybe even like Joseph Quinn will show up. I don't know, right? Because of the way that Day One plays out. So I think it's time that we dive into Day One as the newest movie. So if you haven't seen Day One, now's the time to stop listening.
Get up out of here.
I was anticipating this movie very highly because of my love for the first two films. You know, I watched the first one. I'm like, okay, we got a film going to Day One. I like origin stories, right? New York City. That's a prime, like, this city is loud as hell. You hear buses and cop cars behind my recording all the time. So I'm like, oh, they really about to cook, bro. Super excited for this movie. Watched the second one in anticipation. Realized Digimon was in it. And I'm like, yo, this movie, it could go. It could go. And so I believe you and I, we sat here and we recorded a Cuzzo-Op one day. And then I was like, yo, I got to go, bro. I'm going to go watch Quiet Place. You were like, yo, bro, I'm gonna hit that this weekend. It was your birthday weekend. And we were like, bet. We'll reconvene. And so I don't even remember what I hit you with walking out of that theater.
You was like,
it's my least favorite one.
Yeah, that's what you said. It was my least favorite. That's what you said.
And Isaiah already knows that when I say that, it doesn't mean that I think that the movie was bad. So he was like, oh, word, what do you mean? And I dubbed him. I let him simmer on that thought.
Yeah, he didn't answer me.
I dubbed him. I said, I don't even know, because you know what? It took me some time to think about my feelings also. And as I've come out of that, major disappointment.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna let you go now. I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think for me, my boy flew into town. We were having a cool weekend of just hanging out with the homies. And one thing that we wanted to do was hit a double feature. We were like, we're gonna go see Day One, and we're gonna go see The Bike Riders with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy
and Norman Reedus.
And we all were like, yo, we should just do Day One first, and then we'll do Bike Riders next. But then we're like, man, that's a lot of time wasted in the movie theaters. Is that what we want to do while everybody's together? So we just went to go see Day One. Big regrets, man. Waking up and taking my ass to that theater to go see that piece of Nah, let me stop. I was very disappointed by this film. Now listen, I already told you, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt based off of the rules of the world, the lore of the concepts you've introduced in the Day One. So when they're talking about, they can't swim, use the water. I learned that rule already. You know what I mean? High pitch frequencies wasn't brought up in this one, but we knew that that's a rule of our concept. This is the one thing I liked. And it was, if you read the synopsis on paper for this movie, you'd be intrigued, especially as a Quiet Place fan. A woman that is basically in hospice. She's going to die. On her way to her death is interrupted by this apocalyptic event. That concept is cool. I like that concept. That's unique. And I got no problems with Lupita at all.
Oh, not at all.
She wore this. It was in my opinion, one woman show. Like she could have done this on a Broadway stage, and it could have been no one but her. And she could have acted every scene in a Broadway fashion, and it still would have been the same level of damn, girl, you act like you really
Right.
act like you one of them once
Right.
forever. Like we already knew that. 12 years, us, like we already know these things. But in this movie, watching her was the only thing that I enjoyed. If she wasn't on the
Oh, wow.
screen, I wasn't enjoying it.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, after a while, it was getting old. It felt long. It felt like there were a couple moments when my boy, shout out Lock, I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, this shit ass. I said, yo, it's been a minute since I've been in a theater and been like, yo, when is this ending? I was really disappointed. I was disappointed by the movie. And I wish we saw the Bike Riders, unfortunately. But that's just kind of where I stand on that so far.
So, I mean, I'm going to straight up read my Letterboxd review because it's going to paint pictures. This was unfortunately not the movie I was hoping for. I was extremely excited to be getting another film in the Quiet Place franchise, especially one coming from a different director than John Krasinski, as I love that we are able to see a different perspective from the franchise from a different director, something I wish that we saw more of in modern day. Setting the film in New York City, which I am a native of, was also extremely exciting, as while watching the first two films, I often thought to myself, how the hell would I survive this? Right. Even the way the film was advertised, from the trailers to posters, had me extremely excited for the film. Posters were on top.
They were going crazy on those. Yeah, marketing team deserves. Good job. Good job.
Now that I have watched it, I feel that the advertising may have also been the best part of it all. The opening 20 minutes of the film were incredibly interesting and exactly what I was expecting from this movie, and grew my excitement even more. I think the opening 20 minutes were incredible.
Always set scene.
Watching them come down and all of that, and learn the rules and everything.
Also, shout out homeboy from Make It Brothers Band. Like, come on.
Right, I didn't realize that was him till the end of the movie. Also, I just want to point out, bro, I thought Joseph Quinn did extremely well in this movie. Maybe his writing around his character wasn't great, but I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know? Saw him on Game of Thrones. We've seen him in Stranger Things. He's our new Human Torch. And Gladiator 2, I'm excited to see him in. But I thought here, I'm like, okay, I like him.
Yeah.
I can say now officially I like him as an actor.
Great actor. Great actor.
As the film progressed, I began to feel more let down by how repetitive some of the sequences and events were beginning to play out. They played into the city's going crazy and all that too many times, it feels like. I was also confused with the way Alex Wolff died. That was kind of weird and strange. But whatever. It felt manufactured just to make a scene more tense rather than authentically smooth. The thrill and seriousness of many of the moments found in the first two films did not carry the same weight in this one for me, which made some of the victories in this film feel cheap and some of the defeats and losses feel like nothing. One piece of the plot that I found some enjoyment in was overlook of those who are already down in the dirt, maybe finding some moments of comfort during a bad situation, feeling Lupita finding life during this apocalyptic moment. That was good. The concept is beautiful, but I didn't feel like it was put together incredibly well.
Right.
Besides all that, there was a lot about the film I did enjoy. Cinematography. I thought this film was beautiful when they were showing the different aspects of the city and all of that. I thought it was great.
Yes.
Some could argue it might be the best shot one. I've heard that argument.
I won't agree with you on that, even though I'm a New Yorker. I'm from upstate New York.
I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm just saying people have pointed that out, and I could hear it.
I'm just saying I'm biased. I'm from upstate.
It's always fun to see different renditions of the city for me personally. Just seeing how the city looks. Audio I thought was great, and I did write that this paints a small picture of what maybe 9/11 looked like for some people. Just the buildings crashing down, the ash, the mutedness of it all. So the cast all does well, especially Lupita Digimon, but I also must mention that Joseph Quinn is in this film, who I've only seen in Stranger Things, and I'm excited to see him in his upcoming features after this one. I also love anytime I get to see Alex Wolff, which is kind of hilarious. My favorite part of this film was the music. I thought the music was beautiful. I thought it carried me through some scenes, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just it progressed it But then yeah, the sequences, like they were swimming underwater in the train station for what, like minutes, and that cat is still alive. The cat just always knows where to go. Joseph Quinn climbing up on the damn platform to save the cat. Like, I get it, bro. You wanna make Lupita's life feel a little bit easier, but some of the shit was just playing out in ways where I'm like, yo, this is really just playing out just to get a sequence out of it.
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like.
And yeah, this is my least favorite one. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I think it's straight mid.
Yeah.
Straight mid. Because there are aspects in it that are good. I'm not going to say it's a 1 or a 2 or a 3 because the music is good. The acting is good. The cinematography is good. The story is where it falls apart for me. The family aspect of those first 2 films is what I enjoyed the most. Yeah. Now, because this film was lackluster for me, that doesn't mean I don't want more of this. We're getting a video game. I'm there. I would love if another director took over and it took place somewhere else and we had to learn how they survive and stuff. But in terms of a day one concept, the 10 minutes at the start of A Quiet Place 2 did more for me than the entirety of this film.
100%.
The entirety.
100%. Only place where maybe I'll hear someone pushing back is the apocalyptic beginning of, like, if I didn't see the trailer and I got to see New York fall apart in that opening scene when she's like in the dust and she gets pulled and she wakes up and the like, I appreciated that. Other thing I also tried to appreciate was the magic, this whole concept of like the magic of life, like the wonder of life. They try to do a little theme there with the is it a marionette? I think it's called a marionette doll. But the old man with the doll, and they had the close-ups, and it's like, oh, it's so, you know, like I saw they were trying to do something, but one, you could tell Krasinski was not at the steering wheel of this. You could tell that because there's a human aspect that felt gimmicky. It felt, I saw somebody call it Hallmarky, and I was like, yeah, that's it. It almost feels like a Hallmark spinoff in this universe from A Quiet Place, except the production's up there because the franchise has afforded itself this level of acting, production, shots, marketing, you know, but it doesn't come off like great stewardship in terms of the writing and even the editing and pacings in some places. I agree with your review very much. Yeah, Joseph Quinn's dope. I didn't like Joseph Quinn's character in this. It didn't matter to me.
That's fair.
No, I don't care where you come from. I don't care you were a traitor. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was literally just to paint them both as people who were alone.
His emerging from the subway and now he has to go back down. I don't really care. It wasn't enough for me. It was, and then the cat connecting them, the loose connection of the cat. It felt like, is this a cartoon? Is this a bad joke? You know what I mean? Like there were parts where I was like, who greenlit this shit? You know what I mean? Like y'all could have kept it so simple. You could have kept it so simple. You could have had her meet a myriad of people on her journey to the pizza shop, not just one guy. Right. And it would have went hard. It would have went crazy. You know, you could have very much like the bared it in the sense of like make the overarching journey to the shop this episodic notion of every time she meets a new person, she's shown something. But I feel like they didn't hold on to that. They lost it in the want to create these set pieces. That scene when he gets the cat, like you said, I hated that scene. That was the scene where I was done. That was the one where I was like, I'm over it. Like the whole, and he pops up and I'm like, yo, get this shit off the screen, bro.
Yo,
I was so tight.
I thought of this right now. You know, this felt like a much longer version, different completely, but The Last of Us on HBO did this better in its 3rd episode than this movie did in its entire feature run.
I feel that.
So I was very disappointed, man. And yeah, I agree. That's the moment where I was like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Joseph Quinn just being launched in, coming out of the subway tunnel.
Weird.
I was already like, that doesn't feel good. The cat staring at him and then running all the way to Lupita 3 blocks away and him following the cat.
It was weird.
And then it was just a lot.
It was weird. And I think that they all hold on. I'm sorry. And they also all survive way too much. I feel like the movie was afraid to kill people off in a way that was meaningful. Like Alex Wolff, you know, Alex Wolff, right? That's
Corny death.
his
Corny
death was corny, but it's like if you're gonna do a death, do it and make it significant. And they didn't do that. And then people who they could have killed off that would have been significant. The whole like him getting the money for her, I mean the medicine for her and bringing it back, and now she's just back on her feet. I was like, nah, I'm not hearing it. You know, it's just the magic show. It's just weird, bro. The movie was a weird decision. Whoever greenlit it from the screening, the screenplay, I don't know why they thought that would work, but I understand why people are disappointed with this one in comparison to the first and the second. Now, that being said, you said you gave it a what? A 5 out of 10?
A mid, yeah. Straight.
Yeah, I match you on that. 5 out of 10.
Right.
5 out of 10.
Right. I mean, the end of the movie, we know that Digimon in the Quiet Place 2 said only one boat made it out, I think. Or maybe even he said 2, but we see that. Oh, and Joseph Quinn manages to run off the dock and make it into the water and get to the boat. Oh, yippee. We know what Lupita's story is going to end. She's going to kill herself. Oh, that happened. Okay, boom. You know?
The one set piece I did want to say I liked, though, was the rain underneath the construction and them being able to talk to each other. They did the same thing in the first movie with the water, but doing it in New York slapped. I was like, that's gas. Skyscraper, yes. New York was my, outside of Lupita. Honestly, Lupita's acting was great, but my favorite character of this movie was New York City. Easy.
Yeah. And New York City is often a character in certain senses like that. Yeah, man, just total disappointment here, straight up. Yeah. I was upset walking out of that theater, and I didn't know how to explain it then. Yeah. And so, you know, people that say that this is their favorite of the franchise, I'd love to hear why, straight up. You know, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong. I just would love to understand it. I want to understand it. I would love to. Maybe watch it again with new eyes. I'm excited to hit it again when it's on digital to see if my opinion changes on it. But as it currently stands, it is the bottom of my A Quiet Place list.
Facts.
And this is why we didn't dedicate an episode to it. I have often said we can't just talk about the things we liked.
Right.
But Isaiah assured me that he wouldn't be able to carry that convo past the 20-minute mark if we just did A Quiet Place Day 1 alone. So I was like, you know what? Let's just hit them all. And, you know, this was a very abridged, brief, you know, we could easily dedicate an episode straight to the first one or straight to the second one. But I think, you know, it's a simple franchise at the end of the day with the first two films. And we'll be back for the third one.
We will.
Because I can say at least I'm excited for that to see.
If Krasinski's at the helm,
it'll be cleaned up. Right. Exactly. And so one question I do have to ask you before we head out to make it a fun topic also, if you could, you know, we're getting a video game like I said already, but if you could have another movie or television show, where would you want that to be set? And under what circumstances? What are the characters? What does that look like?
Damn, that's a good question. I wouldn't mind a Texas story. I'm biased because it all happened in New York, and now I'm down here in Texas, and it would be interesting to see that type of an environment. What does it look like for these creatures to exist in the simple plains of flat land, not the forest where there's foliage, or the city where there's buildings and rooftops? What would it look like for them to be like out in the open Old West? Like, how do you make a Western out of this movie? You know, would it be more like Cowboys and Aliens type vibe on some Daniel Craig type timing? That would be a really cool setting for this. I would appreciate that. Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Or give me the concept of like people who live on like freight, like what are they called? Cargo ships, like work on cargo ships that like this apocalypse occurs and they're out in the water. Like what happens then? You know what I mean? Like, are they disconnected from the world and they just can never come in? Give me something like that. Survival in that regard. They could do a lot. And they will do a lot. I have no doubts. They're making a bag off of this franchise. But what about you?
Yeah. I got two options, two answers, you know. I feel like a Caribbean island, Puerto Rico, DR, that could kind of go crazy. Right? Because you have mainland America where, you know, dudes can travel from one side of the country to the other, but like, what happens when only maybe 2 aliens land on your island and you just got to deal with 2? What does survival look like for that? You know, I think that would be great. But I'd also love to take this up to winter, Canada, or somewhere where it's cold and frozen. How do you navigate the spaces where every step you make is a crunch?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, you slip and fall, and does that become a problem? Do the aliens slip and fall, or do they hit that ground hard enough? Do they work as well in the cold? I think it would be interesting to expand it that way. And you know, character wise, I mean, we've done family. You know, I would love to keep a family dynamic, but I don't know how well you would, you know, how can you do it where it doesn't compare over to Krasinski? I'm sure there are ways, right? You got maybe a family that's beefing straight up that they gotta like come into this, or I don't know, but
they could definitely. I know you like your family stories, but I want you to know the only reason why you wanted that the Caribbean idea is because you trying to be out here. You see, you trying to be out here, and
I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be.
Trying to be in
no.
Dead Island. My man want to be in Dead Island
no.
so bad. He want to be in Dead Island so bad.
Not at all. Not at all.
Nah, bro. There's a lot of places they could take this thing. They could take it to so many places, and I'm excited for the third. I'm excited for Krasinski to get back on the helm and bring us probably another human or family related story as we see them kind of come back together and have to overcome what's next. Yeah. I'll be there.
Right. Yeah. And that game too, we have to figure out what that is
figure
about.
That out
but
too fast.
That's it for the Quiet Place talk. And yeah, that's it for me. I got other movies I'm watching that I've enjoyed and not enjoyed, and I'm sure you'll hear about that as the year continues. We got Deadpool and Wolverine dropping in next week, in fact. And so we have a special.
We got three episodes coming at you next week. 3 episodes. First time we've ever done this. We've been doing 2s, but we're gonna hit you with 3 next week. So stay tuned for that. If you're a gamer, you're gonna appreciate episode 77. If you haven't listened to these episodes, you won't know what that is. But if you listen to our Q&A, then you'll know what we got packed in 77. And then we got to get ready for Deadpool and Wolverine. So we're gonna talk.
Yeah. Next week is literally a video game talk, a TV show talk, and a movie talk.
All 3 of them
so
things.
It'll be exciting.
Facts.
It'll be exciting. And Comic-Con is next week also. So, you know, we're gonna be listening in. We're gonna be seeing what comes out, and you can expect our Comic-Con recap in 2 weeks.
Marvel's back in Hall H. Like, it's gonna go down. It's gonna be a good time. So make sure that if you want to hear everything that's going on in entertainment culture, some voices authentically speak toward these TV shows, these movies, and these video games, you stay tapped in. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Comment in the comment section. We're having conversations with people all the time about maybe it's your favorite emotion from Inside Out 2, or maybe we'll probably ask what your favorite film out of these 3 are as the question for today's episode. So tap in there. Let us know which ones you liked, which ones you don't like. Participate there and send this out to anyone that you know would appreciate 2 guys having a conversation about this series. And just know every time that you tap in with us here at Cuzzo-Op, you're always going to find 3 things. That's 2 cousins, 1 podcast, and endless entertainment. Shh.